if you hear background noise interfering with the video, don't pay attention to it, alright? Gangstalking phenomenon has a non-human origin, but it's designed to appear as a man-made harassment, alright? It's carried out by a non-human intelligence, a non-human factor which is existence, can only be indirectly inferred through the so-called gangstalking phenomenon. We don't have direct access through our perception, through our five senses to it, right? It is going to take a long time before the target can break through the web of disinformation and deception and start to comprehend what is really going on, what is the underlying non-human mechanism behind gangstalking. And by then it's already too late, alright? This non-human intelligence operates like a hive mind, simultaneously synchronizing the movements, positionment and behavior of each and every human being, right? Just as it happens in an ant nest or in a beehive. Each individual is being permanently and unconsciously manipulated in his movements, gestures, thoughts and feelings, in his decisions, opinions, spontaneous reactions, beliefs and relationships with other people. Everything is being millimetrically, microscopically contrived. We live in a world of synthesized, non-neutral reality, and this creation of reality is done through fundamental matter, subatomic particles. Each and every fundamental particle is controlled and manipulated to fabricate the large-scale reality we humans perceive with our five senses. So our behavior is being permanently, artificially fabricated. Our organic brain activity, up to the tiniest bioelectrical brain pulse, is being artificially contrived by this non-human intelligence through the manipulation of each and every subatomic particle, alright? So we humans do not exist, at least in the biological and humanistic terms we are used to think about ourselves. The human organism is just a couple of trillions of fundamental particles, each one of which constitute a quantum leap of reality. Fundamental particles are fringe particles. They are right there at the frontier of the existence. Some of these subatomic particles don't even have mass, and they are intimately linked with time and space. So matter, time and space all go hand in hand. This is quantum mechanics, right? So we live in an artificially fabricated, non-neutral reality. There's no free will. What we perceive as biological life, as living organisms, including humans and animals, is only fabrication of reality through the fabrication of each and every fundamental subatomic particle, right? If you are a target individual, you are going to experience how dogs enter into unpredictable behavior. And as you walk past by them or in the streets, they get excited or aggressive. They are millimetrically controlling movements and behavior. Also cats or birds or any other animal, alright? For example, in the case of birds, they are made to repeatedly interact with targets. They might get, for example, flap their wings aggressively near the target, not paying attention to their own safety, alright? So the same happens with any other animal, ants, flies or mosquitoes. For example, if a target goes to a park and sits in a bench, suddenly a bunch of ants are going to appear crawling up the target's legs. Then the target changes place, changes to another bench, and the same thing happens just a few seconds later. You know, a new bunch of ants appear and start crawling aggressively up the target's legs. So these patterns of synchronical repetition also happen with flies and mosquitoes. Up to what microscopic level can this non-human intelligence manipulate living organisms? Up to viruses and bacteria, DNA genetic material. Well, we've said it already, up to subatomic fundamental particles. Right? These are the fringe particles that fabricate reality, time and space, you know, all at once. All right. So genetic material, DNA, is just the manifestation at the biological range of what what is really fabrication of reality. So also all the ugly socio-economic dynamics that unfolding in front of us are being millimetrically contrived by this non-human factor. It's all about making us humans. It's all about making us humans compete one against the other. All right, confronting humans one against the other. Just remember that this non-human intelligence works through mockery and perverse jokes, all right, nasty, perverse games of deception. So targets also experience how weird skin rushes or skin burns appear in their faces, in their skins. So they are induced into the wrong belief that they are being poisoned or targeted with microwave radiation, or that they have some allergy or autoimmune reaction, and it's not true. It's just fabrication of reality, right, affecting our organic tissues at the biological range, right? So if you ask yourself about the origin and causes of illnesses, for example, why cancer cells divide out of control, generating a tumor which then expands to the whole body, the reason is just contrived creation of reality through fundamental particles, right? Through creation of reality. I mean, thus inducing these cells, these cancer cells, into abnormal behavior. Of course, medical science is going to arrive to whatever conclusion about the reason why cancer appears. Just remember that this non-human factor works always through deception and disinformation, inducing scientific research to arrive to wrong conclusions. Although they seem to be scientifically sound, it is just a false appearance. This non-human intelligence can manipulate the results of statistical data. So scientists, doctors are going to be induced into fundamentally flawed scientific results. All right. Just remember that this disinformation and deception has pervaded most of our scientific and intellectual developments. Right? I mean, so we live in a reality where deception and disinformation pervades everything, all right? So most of the basements of our civilization fall apart when analyzed from this perspective. We need to redesign our societies in light of these considerations. These non-human factors bent on fabricating terrorism, wars, social inequality, unfairness, suffering, impoverishment, unhappiness, so on. It uses several cover-up mechanisms like the fraud of psychiatry, all right, or religion, or any other superstitious beliefs, or other mechanisms of deception, which we will explain in other videos. Alright? So, just like the fraud of psychiatry is vested with the appearance of a respectful medical science, the same happens with many of these other cover-up mechanisms, right? We have talked about discontinuities of reality in the previous video, how this non-human factor sets the target into the wrong belief that someone is entering in his apartment just by leaving signs and traces, right? So dirt stains in blankets and towels appear continually, or the target arrives home and finds the door of the apartment open, or in the kitchen the door of the freezer open, pieces of debris or other traces or damages, items missing, or that appear again after a few days, usually when the target has already replaced these items, or items that change place, they appear somewhere else as where the target left them. We explain how all this is done through contrived discontinuities of reality. Nobody is entering in the target's apartment, right? It's all designed to deceive the target that necessarily someone is breaking in. The same happens with the so-called crop circles, right? Large-scale geometric figures that have historically appeared in the fields in many places. Nobody does it. I mean, it's just a creation of reality, right? through the manipulation of subatomic particles. Another example of the same phenomenon is the so-called chemtrails, alright, that appear as the exhaust gases of an aeroplane. There is no such plane leaving these trails, right? It's again more of the same artificially contrived reality. Alright, another example is the Bigfoot phenomenon. Historically, inhabitants of the Asian towns found Bigfoot prints in the outskirts of town, or other traces that appeared as man-made, and families locked in their houses really scared, thinking that there was some big wild man wandering around town. Alright, another example is how historically many families thought they had a ghost or a phantom living upstairs in the attic that at night waked up and kept banging the floor upstairs. Alright, this hearing phenomenon was anciently interpreted in religious or superstitious terms always. Then came the fraud of psychiatry and the fraud of schizophrenia in the 19th century, and now if you are exposed to these hearings, alright, you are mentally ill, alright? You are not anymore demonized. You don't need anymore to be tortured by a priest to throw out the demon inside you, to throw out the devil inside you. Now you get tortured by a psychiatrist with psychiatric drugs or electroshock therapy or lobotomy, right? Remember that this non-human intelligence always induces us into wrong premises, into wrong assumptions about talent, effort, education, success, competing to be the best, intelligence, and so on. And this is hopelessly misleads us into a crappy life, right?